All right, so you want to put this pandemic behind us? Well, Dr. Anthony Fauci telling me, well, get vaccinated, because the sooner we all do that, the sooner this all goes away. Take a look.
It is likely that if you are vaccinated, that you are not going to spread infection if you get infected without any symptoms. There's no doubt about that. I understand that as well as anybody else. But there is studies that are coming online now that are going to definitively prove that. And that's the reason why we say when that happens, we'll pull back on the recommendation of saying people who are vaccinated should continue to wear masks. It's very likely that they're not infective. But just to be sure and just to be cautious, you want to be conservative on the side of saying, wait till we get data where we could definitively prove that. It isn't just
but
me.
Wearing masks into 2022, Doctor? Do you still stand by that?
Neil, that was taken, come on, let's get serious about this. That was taken totally out of context. What I was saying,
so you don't think that's right? You don't think I should have masks in 2022? That shouldn't be necessary.
We don't know, and I'm not saying that we will. If we get a major surge and we have a continuation of an increase in cases, it is conceivable that we may be having to wear masks in 2022. But if we continue to get people vaccinated and we get the overwhelming majority of people together with those that have been infected and the level of infection goes way down, we very likely will not have to. You know, we're playing this game here. You take a word or a sentence somebody says and you throw a gotcha at them. No, I did not say definitively we unquestionably will be wearing masks in 2022. I said under certain circumstances, that might be conceivable that we would have to. But there are circumstances in which we may not have to.
All right. Well, the reason why I mention it is because Senator Marco Rubio, who respects you, wonders whether you've been consistent. He said Dr. Fauci is a very good public health official. His job is to advise policymakers and inform the public, but his job is not to decide what we can do, where we can go, or which places can open or close. And his job is not to mislead or scare us into doing the right things. What did you make of it?
Well, you know, Neil, I don't know how to answer that without, sounding hostile, because I'm not. I have a great deal of respect for the senator. I'm not trying to scare anybody. What we're saying is that we make recommendations based on scientific evidence and data, because what you want to do is give the American people the information they need to make choices, and you make a recommendation. I don't think anyone would consider me a scaremonger. I've never been that way at all. So when we talk about wearing a mask, not wearing a mask, doing this or not doing that, we like it to be based on evidence and data. And that's the way I have guided anything I've said for now the last 40 years. Nothing has changed.
Well, Mark Meadows, the former chief of staff for President Trump, says you have changed, Doctor. He said Dr. Fauci is the same one who said that every recommendation he made to President Trump followed. Now we have an administration, we have a new Dr. Fauci that seems to forget some of the conversations that he and I had, that you've changed your views. What do you think of that?
You know, here again, I don't want to have a conflict with Mark Meadows. I know Mark. I like him. We got along really quite well during the Trump administration. I think is being a little bit misleading. Certainly, there were things that I said to President Trump that he absolutely agreed with and went along with. Everybody is also aware that there was some concerns that I had. And, we don't want to rehash them because I don't want to be putting anyone down. But in general, I have been really quite consistent in what I've said. People can take words and sentences, pull them out of context, and say, well, he's been inconsistent about this and that. And Neil, that's just not helpful, because that becomes ad hominem as opposed to let's all pull together to get this outbreak behind us. So that's the reason why I really don't like to answer tit for tat when somebody says something about you, because I don't have any animus to any of them. I worked very well with them when we were in the Trump administration.
Yeah, and it might be the case, and I do notice that much of the criticism, in fact, the lion's share of it, Doctor, comes from those who work with you in the Trump administration. Peter Navarro actually went so far as to say you were the father of COVID. Lindsey Graham, last night saying that it was important for you to get down to the border and see the super spreader event that's going on there. What do you think of all of that? These are largely coming from Republicans who have serious animus toward some of the things that you recommend and say, and maybe just you, period.
You know, Neil, I've become sort of, for some reason or other, a symbol to them of what they don't like about anything that has to do with things that are contrary to them, anything outside of their own realm. It's a little bit bizarre, I would say. I mean, Lindsey Graham, who I like, he's a good person. I've dealt with him very, very well, over the years. Equating me with things that have to do at the border. I mean, I have nothing to do with the border. Peter Navarro saying I created the virus. I mean, how bizarre is that? I mean, think about that, Neil, for a second. I mean, is that a little weird? I mean, come on.
I think what Lindsey Graham was getting, other than mention this, because of the COVID spread at the border with all of these thousands who've been crammed in there, that maybe someone with your expertise should be down there just to monitor how worrisome a situation this is. Do you think it's a worrisome situation? Do you think it could be a super spreader event?
I mean, obviously, it is a very difficult situation at the border. We all know that. The administration is trying as best as they can to alleviate that situation. I mean, having me down at the border, that's really not what I do, Neil. You know what I do. I develop vaccines. I develop countermeasures. I mean, having me at the border, I don't know why they're saying I should be at the border any more than someone who has experience in those types of things. So it's really
are you worried, I guess, about the virus spread there, whether that's something we should monitor, whether it's something that maybe we've lost sight of as a forget about just the throngs who have gotten there, but how this could lead to a spread of the virus?
You know, obviously, this is of concern to the administration. I mean, the president himself has expressed that. We don't want people to be coming over the border. I mean, when unaccompanied children do, they come under the auspices of HHS. When migrants enter, they come under the auspices of ICE. They're tested to the extent possible. If they're positive, they're quarantined. That's what I know about it. No one is denying that it is not a difficult problem at the border. I just was a little bit concerned when people equate what I do with the border. I mean, I don't know the reason for the animus, but I'm really not quite sure. And quite frankly, Neil, I am so busy trying to do some important things to preserve the health and the safety of the American people that I can't be bothered with getting distracted with these people that are doing these ad hominems again. It doesn't bother me. You brought it up. It's one of those things that, if they want to do that, let them do it. I have more important things to do than worry about that.
All right, Dr. Anthony Fauci on the virus that he says is looking better here, not so abroad, by the way. We just got some new indications.